question. That is the first question.
That's the first question.
Right. Every prophet has only one faith before a message is revealed to him. I'm talking of those prophets who are made by God to found religions. They have only one faith, that is faith in God, and no other faith. And they remain nondescript as such. But there is also evidence that some prophets who are born in an age where an old Sharia, old law was still continuing to be the valid currency at that time, stick to that law, maybe not in detail, but they belong to that teaching in general. As far as Ahmad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is concerned, he had no relation with classical older religions, so this does not apply to him and may not apply to many other founders of religion. But in one case I know there is an exception, that is Abraham alayhi salatu wasalam. Hazrat Abraham, according to the Holy Quran, shared the last years of Noah's age of law, and he belonged to Noah's Sharia or Noah's law up to the age of around 50 years, when a new Sharia or a new law was revealed to him. But Hazrat Rasul Akram sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as long as he was not commissioned as prophet, belonged only to the faith in one and the only one God and in his love. He had faith in his love, he practiced love, and that was all the Sharia he had. But when he was made a prophet, then he followed the older Sharia of Moses as long as there was no special new instruction to him regarding certain things. So when there was lack of new law, he habitually followed the older law despite the fact that he did not belong to that law. And as far as the marriage is concerned, marriage of his daughters, because there was no religion he adhered to except the one I have described, I am quite sure he must have tried to find noble people. That is all the religion he had at that time. But as far as their official belongings to certain faiths is concerned, that was not brought into consideration. Second part, please. Second question, please.
Hazur, I would like to put the second question. It also has two parts. The title of the the Ahmadiyya Khalifa is Khalifatul Masih. Normally it is written and spoken. And the question is that why it is not said as Khalifatul Masih al-Mahdi, as the promised Messiah was the Messiah and the Mahdi as well. And when we use the promised Messiah's name, and we always use the title of Mahdi and Masih as well. And the second part of the question is,
shall I first attend the first part?
Yes, please.
Do you know how many claimants there are to Mahdihood in Islam?
There are quite a few, more than a dozen.
And how many messiahs claim to have descended from heaven? Only one.
Only one, yes.
So that is the obvious reason. One title could be confusing. The other stands alone by itself. There is no confusion about it. That when we speak of Al-Masih al-Maud, he is the one. And secondly, the concept of Messiahhood is universal. And the concept of Mahdaviyat is not universal. Mahdaviyat is a title which remains within the confines of Islam. But Messiah is the title which attracts the interest and the also answers to the hopes of great religions like Judaism, Christianity. And these three, Islam, Judaism, and Christianity, if they join forces, the rest of the world doesn't mean anything, any longer. Wouldn't mean anything any longer. So a title was chosen which was of a much wider interest as far as the people outside of Islam are concerned. See? Jazakallah. Second part.
Hazur, the second part of the question is that as we all believe that the Hazrat promised Messiah was the Messiah and Mahdi for the whole world. So why not, when we write or proclaim the names of the Khulafa,
Fine?
why we write the Khalifatul Jamaatul Ahmadiyya, why not Khalifatul Muslimin, when the promised Messiah was for the whole world?
What is Ahmadiyya other than Islam?
Yeah, I understand, but most of the new converts, they normally ask this question.
If you understand, you make them understand as well.
Yeah.
Ahmadiyya is a vision of Islam which completely tallies with Islam. And why we insist on the title Ahmadiyya to be used has many reasons. Number one, it was the prophecy of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as mentioned in the Holy Quran, that he would reappear in the latter days among a people who had not yet met the earlier people. Now, his reappearance was not to be personal, but it was a representative reappearance, we believe, and he was to represent particularly his title Ahmad. So when we speak of Ahmadiyyat, we do not speak of Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad at all. We speak of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whose name and title was Ahmad, other than Muhammad. So it was the second phase of Ahmadiyyat, which was to cover the whole world. So in relation to that, Ahmadiyyat is exactly Islam and nothing but Islam. You understand?
Jazakallah Hazur, it's very nicely explained. Thank you very much.
Next, please. Is there a system of the person who has asked the question to return to his seat and relax there? Those should remain seated on these chairs who have yet to ask a question, and they should start moving forward. Ilmi Shafi Sahib, I think that chair is slightly beyond. You can come forward and pull the chair aside, and that's quite sufficient. Huh? Yes, please.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम। मेरा एक सवाल है जनाब कि अल्लाह ताला के साथ आपका कोई ख़ास ताल्लुक़, इसका दावा, और अगर है तो इसकी नौइयत क्या होती है? किसी ज़ाती तजुर्बा का वाक़या इरशाद फरमाकर शहादत का मौका दें।
The question, you can't address me in English?
No,
Right. Can you understand English well?
it's not very much, but
So how will you know the answer when you can't understand English? Because the medium for this session is fixed as English. This has been already decided. So when I answer you in English, how will you learn what I'm saying? But very briefly, I'll tell you, this is a question which is slightly embarrassing, because to discuss one's relationship with God as a personal distinction is not something which one does without embarrassment and humility. But officially, when I have to do that, I speak of that in my sermons, and sometimes address the whole world with relation to that contact with God, and the proof which is already included in the vision or dream to which I refer. For instance, when Ziaul Haq became over nasty with Ahmadiyya, and I issued a challenge of Mubahala to him, particularly, his name was the first on the list, and under him others as well. Some mullahs responded in different ways, but always tried to avoid a confrontation, which could be considered as Mubahala, by attaching very stupid and irreligious conditions. For instance, let's go to a minaret and jump out. Whoever is saved, he will be from God. You know, that sort of thing. Let's jump into fire and let's see. So in response to these things, I only said that why involve me? If you consider me to be a liar, why sacrifice me? You know you will be saved. So go ahead and jump. And I'll be waiting downstairs to, to have bath on your hands. So this was the treatment to that very serious challenge of spiritual bout. And because many of the guests do not understand what Mubahala is, let me explain a little bit. Mubahala means that when the dialogue is no longer productive and meaningful, when all the arguments which God has bestowed upon his own people fail to produce results, and you see people behaving obstinately, and you have a sense that even when they understand, they don't have the courage or honesty to confess that this is truth and we have understood. At such a stage, according to the Holy Quran, Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was permitted to throw a challenge to his adversary by inviting them to a mubahala, that is a spiritual bout. Let us both pray to God and invite his wrath on the person who is willfully avoiding the truth, and invoking his curse on such a person. And blessing on the one, obviously, is the converse, that the blessing should also be bestowed upon the party which is right. Now, this is the mubahala which I threw as a challenge to Ziaul Haq and others of his sort who, under his shadow, crossed all limits of decency towards Ahmadiyya. They indulged in every sort of cruelty, filthy language, everything they knew could hurt. They used to hurt the Ahmadis and destroy Ahmadiyya. So in that challenge, I had particularly addressed Ziaul Haq because he was the leader. Now, it's not historically proved that all those such people are killed by God as a sign. If exceptionally, rarely things happen and the leader is singled out, then there should be enough sign for the rest to see and understand. So in the end, I addressed Ziaul Haq in one of my sermons. I said that you have not responded at all. The mullahs are responding, but in such an absurd fashion that obviously they're not taking it seriously. But you are the one who is the leader of all this movement. So if you think it is below your dignity to answer me, as a person of no significance to you and to your government, a person who you thought if he remained in our country, then we would teach him a lesson, that sort of thing. You treat us like this, something to be trampled upon, not to be taken equally. So I think I mentioned that in my sermon, that I feel that this is your psychology. You think I'm too far below you to be taken seriously. All right then, if you accept the challenge, then go on persecuting Ahmadis with the same ferocity as you have been doing so far, and don't change it. And if you think that I'm right, then abstain from this further, and then Allah's wrath will not fall upon you. But if you continue in this behavior, then nothing can save you from the wrath of God. That will be a sign that you have accepted the challenge. Now, after a while, waiting for a while, I noticed that he increased his atrocities against Ahmadiyya, committing atrocities against Ahmadiyya. So one night, it was the night between Thursday and Friday, I saw a dream, which was a very clear message that the time for Zia's destruction has come, and nothing can stop it. So the next day, during the Friday sermon, I mentioned that dream and said, it shows, this dream, that he has accepted the challenge by advancing in all his cruelties, etc., of prosecution of Ahmadis, and not retrieving his steps. So God has seen it, and God has told me that now he's going to be destroyed in a manner that everybody would see, and nothing can save him now. Before the next Friday, his plane exploded in the midair, and he was torn to pieces, unrecognizable pieces. All that is buried in the name of his corpse is the dust they gathered from where the accident took place. And a denture, false denture, all that was recognizable as Zia. And that was also significant because his biting power became a symbol of his remains. So, is that not a sign of one's relationship with God? And the truth of that relationship is apparent from all this. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa
I have two questions, and
Please.
they're both on general current affairs.
Okay.
First one is with
Now, by
reference.
the way, if you could introduce yourself as well,
Right.
perhaps it would be for the advantage of everybody. We know who is talking to us.
My name's Ikram Haq, and I've travelled from Leicester to join this meeting with a good friend of mine here.
I see.
So coming back to the questions, the very first question I have is with reference to the current case that was in the High Court of Pakistan, Rahmat Masih's case,
Right.
where the High Court of Pakistan's verdict was death penalty for blasphemy. I'm interested to learn whether death penalty for blasphemy is actually in the Islamic law, and if so, precisely where in Holy Quran it is stated.
This is a question which I have myself been raising for a long time now, addressing the mullahs and the advocates of this penalty. I have been repeatedly requesting them to show me one single line in the Holy Quran where this penalty is mentioned, and I have not yet received any answer. So the moment I receive an answer, I'll remember you.
Thank you. The second question, again, is with reference to current affairs, especially the sad cases which are currently going on, the shootings in the mosques, between the sectarian killings between the Sunnis and the Shias. Would you please enlighten me to the root cause of such conflict and a possible opinion as to how peace and tranquility can be returned to the streets of Pakistan, which I'm sure is the wish of every Pakistani?
You see, these two cases, apparently unrelated, are very deeply and strongly related cases.
Yes.
Something is happening to the Pakistanis which is reminiscent of their own misbehavior towards Ahmadiyya earlier. Death penalty was, in fact, made a law. I mean, it was legislated only for Ahmadis to make them as a target. And if Ahmadis had remained the only target, the world would not have taken any notice, and they did not. So many cases of 295, offense 295, the offense under the Act 295, were registered against Ahmadis, and you know, in case of Sahiwal, death penalty was passed on innocent people, but that was a different background. In relation to this, insult to the Holy Prophet, many Ahmadis have been rounded up, they have been imprisoned, and it was with great difficulty that we ultimately got the release with bond and things. But the world did not take any notice. When two Christians were hit ultimately, they were bound to be hit, suddenly the world aroused, the opinion aroused, and the commotion was created in the West. America got shaken up. All Europe awoke to the situation and started criticizing Pakistanis. Now, this lack of interest in the principle, but this over-exaggerated interest in persons is not noticed only by Ahmadis, but by the Western media itself. It has been pointedly mentioned. I think Independent of England also mentioned the same fact. I have received cuttings from America in different magazines where they themselves have raised this question, that why this duality in our character? If it was just a matter of principle, then we should have raised our protest and lodged our strong protest with the government of Pakistan on when the first time the Ahmadis were implicated under this law. Nobody did, so God has a way of bringing forth the issue to which people close their eyes. In cases of mosques, many Ahmadi mosques were looted, demolished, razed to earth, and Ahmadis were imprisoned from the mosque only for the crime that they were celebrating Eid prayer or just enjoying the last Ashra of Ramadan. Nobody took notice. No Pakistani raised his voice in protest against this. What happens now is that so many Muslim mosques under one sect of Islam, that is Sunni or Shia or whatever it is, even in other sects, such cases have happened in case of other sects. In Peshawar or in Mardan, a mosque belonging to Ahl Hadith was once demolished, and people who were praying there were manhandled, etc. It all started from there. And the first mosque which met this treatment at the hands of the non-Ahmadi Muslims was in Mardan. So God's response started from there, and it started spreading everywhere in Pakistan. So if you yourself defile the sanctity of the places of worship, then if God does take interest in those against whom you have been committing crimes, he has his own way of punishment, and it becomes unsuppressible, or what do you call it? Unsuppressible, that's right. You can't do anything about it. And the things are going completely out of hand. Imagine the end of Ramadan, the last Ashra, which is a very, very special time in the year for Muslims, where they forget about all their enmities and hostilities to each other, their quarrels with each other, and dedicate entirely to the service of God, to the worship of God, and learn during that Ashra from Hazrat Muhammad to forgive where earlier they could not. To forgive and forget, to befriend others, to take all steps towards cementing stronger ties between Muslims and Muslims. This is, in essence, the teaching of Hazrat Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And these violations you referred to in Karachi, they were at the peak of their devilish activities during that last Ashra of Ramadan. And the mullahs have not taken any exception to that. They have not moved a muscle. You could not have heard any statement from the mullahs, because they themselves are, in fact, egging people on to such a course, and they are exciting them, they are, haranguing them, doing all sorts of things in their power to make Muslims fight other Muslims and destroy other Muslims without any crime committed by those who are killed, who are made targets. The culprits are not made targets. It is the innocent public, people who go to the mosques. They are fired at and indiscriminately killed. And when people go to participate in their janazah prayer, those who participate in their janazah prayers, they are lined up and killed cold-bloodedly. Where is the voice of mullah? Does Islam approve this all wholeheartedly? And if a Christian is alleged to have said something which is derogatory to the noble person of Hazrat Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, they say it's intolerable, Islam is being destroyed and Islam's honor is violated. And when they violated everything that Islam stands for, they don't move a muscle. So this shows the duality of the situation and hypocrisy in them. And all this has that background. So the final part of your question was, how can peace be restored to such a land which is so deeply and profoundly disturbed? The answer is, first of all, abstain from your ill attitude and criminal attitude towards Ahmadiyya. Give them the right to live and right to spread what they consider to be the truth, and the peace will return. That's the only way. Because if you accept Ahmadiyya as something which has equal rights with others, then the rights of all others are well covered. Start from here, and the rest will take care of itself. Right? Thank you. Thank you.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम सर। सर मेरा एक कोई सवाल है कि मुसलमान नए नए फ़िरके पैदा हो रहे हैं, हर फ़िरका कहना है कि मैं सच्चा हूँ। सर
क्या फिरका क्या कहता है अपने आप को?
मुसलमानों में
जो फिरके पैदा हो रहे हैं,
नए फ़िरके
जी,
हर रोज़ तकरीबन नए फ़िरके पैदा होते हैं।
अच्छा,
हर फ़िरका कहता है कि मैं सच्चा हूँ। लिहाजा कौन सा फ़िरका आप बताएं कि सच्चा है?
बहुत अच्छा. First of all, can you understand English?
No, sir. Only speak Urdu now.
So, who has brought you here? Who has invited you? You have an Ahmadi friend who has invited you?
Yes.
Who is he?
Rashid Saab.
You can understand English? Okay. Then whatever I say in English, because this is a session in which medium of instruction is English. So I have to stick to that, because other guests who know only English, they'll be left out of it, and it will not be fair to them if I answer you in Urdu. You understand?
Yes.
So he will, inshallah, take note of my answer and make you understand. Okay? But in that case, even in that case, I have to be brief. Otherwise, he may forget all the things I have said. That's the problem, you know.
Thanks, sir.
So, you see, every sect claims to be right. This is what I'm saying. Every Muslim sect claims to be right. And more sects are coming into being. According to him, they're cropping up like vegetation every day. Nobody can keep count of them. First of all, I think that is a little over-exaggerated. Sects are not born every day, but views, different views and deviance do take place. That's correct. The question is, everybody says he's right. Now what should they say? Should they say they're wrong? That's the only option they have. Everyone has to say that he's right. So how to find out the truth of that claim? That is the question. In such a rigmarole of claims and counterclaims, the ideal thing would be to ask God and to turn to Him. But before that, all that you can do is, because you don't have access to literature, access to all the investigation material necessary for investigation, and not even time for that. So the best answer I can give you is twofold answer, in fact. One, to pray to God to guide you to the right path. Second, to judge the claims on the merit of them, not from the point of view of the arguments they present, but from the point of view of the claims themselves. Which do they appeal to your nature? Do they sink into your heart? Do you find yourself at one with them, naturally? If you apply this criterion, then I'm sure, instead of involving yourself in a detailed investigation with reference to the Quranic verses, Ahadis, Bible, Gita, Vedas, etc., you can always put them to the touchstone of your own inner self, which according to Allah has the decisive power, and God has given this potential to every human being, this ability and faculty to judge the right from the wrong. But in that case, you must start your journey of investigation completely unprejudiced. Don't bring into consideration what you inherited from your forefathers' beliefs. Just judge the beliefs according to your own nature. Do they seem to be right, or do they seem to be wrong? One of the differences between Ahmadiyyat and non-Ahmadi faiths or sects is that they believe in the physical life of Jesus Christ to continue till this moment. They say that he is alive physically, not spiritually, but physically, till this moment, and he never tasted death up to now. Christians say he tasted death and was revived from the dead, and he started a new life. Now, which of the two claims appeal to your nature? Have you ever witnessed any such thing happening in real life? And the Ahmadi claim is that Jesus Christ was attemptedly murdered, but not successfully murdered. He was attempted to be crucified so that he could die upon cross, but God saved him. And there is enough evidence, we believe, but I'm not talking about evidence at the moment. I'm just telling you the possibilities of the correctness of one view as against the other. Our view is that Jesus did not die upon the cross. He was saved from the cross, or death upon cross. And later on, when he was observed walking about, he was the same Jesus who had suffered the wounds of crucifixion. And he continued to live with the same wounds. So what would you infer from that? Did he die and then was raised, or he did not die and was miraculously saved by God? Our view is that he was miraculously saved by God. So there are the three propositions I quote by way of illustration. Which one appeals to your nature? Go by that. And if you are unprejudiced, your answer will always be right. And then with the help of prayer, inshallah, you will be led to the right path. Thank you. Yes, please.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wa salatu wa salam ala nabiyyuna wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa ala man ihtada bi ihsanihi ila yawmiddin. Assalamu alaikum
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Where are you from?
I'm a Sierra Leonean.
From Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
Which part of Sierra Leone?
Boo.
Is it right? Yes.
Yeah.
You know, Sierra Leone is one of my most favorite countries.
Of course,
You know
yes.
that, don't you?
Of course,
Right,
yes.
okay.
Yeah. And my name is Hassan Dawood Mansari.
Right.
And my problem is actually I've been to the Arab world, well, Saudi Arabia. And
That's the biggest problem.
no, I'm coming. And
No,
I was
understand
living
that, of course.
in Medina,
Uh-huh.
but my problem is a lot of questions has been raised over there pertaining to the coming of Mahdi,
That's
alayhi
right.
wasalam, and yet it has been remained unanswered actually, because nobody has actually convinced me something like that. So really, you have said that he has already come. So could you please educate me on this issue?
Would you kindly raise those questions one by one, which you feel have not yet been answered?
Well,
And
actually,
I'll attempt to answer them.
in general, is a person we Muslims actually expect him to come. Something
All right,
like that. My problem is I don't actually know anything about him,
Okay.
or I want signs to prove that he has actually come.
Okay.
Thank you.
You see, you can stand here for a while. You hear? I can tell you a very easy way of reaching the truth. There's so many claimants to Mahdihood in the past history in Islam, which claimed that they were Mahdis, and they also quoted some traditions of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, who apparently applied to them. So there's a lot of confusion in the history of those who claimed to be the rightful Mahdis. Very difficult for an ordinary person to investigate all the background and go to the books and study and counterclaims, etc. But one thing which generally is never pointed out by others, I've never read this thing pointed out by anyone before, is the fact that the ahadith, when they speak of Mahdi, they also speak of Messiah, who will descend during the lifetime of the Mahdi. And then they will begin a joint effort to conquer the world of religion for the sake of Islam. Is that right or wrong? Do you know that fact or not?
No.
Every time Hazrat Muhammad speaks of the Mahdi to come, he speaks of him not sharing the age entirely, exclusively for himself. There are other traditions which speak that during the time of the Mahdi, during his lifetime, Messiah would certainly descend, and they will both jointly launch a movement in favor of Islam. Correct? Now you understand?
Yeah.
Now show me one Messiah in the lifetime of any Mahdi who made a claim before. Can you even show me one claim by a so-called Mahdi that, look here, I was the Mahdi, so according to the traditions, this Messiah has descended? Have you ever come across such a claim?
No.
So they are all not worthy of attention. And this claim could not have been fulfilled or realized because they all believed that the Messiah, who is mentioned in these traditions, is the same old Messiah who happened to be the Messiah of Moses. And they also claimed that he was not yet dead. So for them to make a claim to Mahdiviyyat is so easy. They say, we are Mahdi, okay. But it was impossible for them to have the Isa brought from heaven down to earth when he had never ascended. They did not know this, that according to the Quran, Jesus never ascended to heaven bodily, but he only ascended spiritually. If this secret had been revealed to them, then there would be very great confusion indeed. then everybody would claim to be the Mahdi as well as the Messiah. He said the Messiah to come is spiritual. So in that case, these two titles can combine in one person. So some people ask me, why was it that only Hazrat Masih Maud ﷺ in the entire history of Islam was revealed this secret by God, that Messiah is dead and a new person in his image is to be born? The answer is that if it were a common known fact to all the previous people, every claimant to the Mahdihood would have invented a Messiah also. So they were kept away from this, so that the truth of one single Messiah is singled out as shines without any, doubtful claimant to share that glory. So Hazrat Masih Maud al-Islam is the only person who claimed to be the Mahdi, who claimed to be the Messiah, and proved both these things with reference to many signs. Now, this I can't occupy the whole of this remaining time, answering your question, but if you ask your family friends, they will provide you with either my audio-video cassettes, where I have already dealt with these issues, or will help you find the books rather, in which this issue has been discussed in detail with reference to all the relevant verses of the Quran and traditions, etc. Right? Thank you.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وعد الله الذين آمنوا منكم وعملوا الصالحات ليستخلفنهم في الأرض.
और अब नाज़रीन, हमारे आज के ब्रॉडकास्ट स्केड्यूल का अगला प्रोग्राम।